Welcome to Granada, a city where history, culture, and faith collide. A place where the past echoes through every cobblestone, and where one man's journey forever changed the course of this city's history. Join us on an unforgettable adventure through the vibrant streets of Spain, as we explore the life and lasting legacy of Saint John of God. It all began on March 8, 1495, in the small town of Montemor o Novo, Portugal. A boy named John Ciudade, later to be known as Saint John of God, was born. Little did the world know, this child would grow up to become a beacon of compassion and charity. In his early adulthood, John joined the Spanish army, becoming a soldier that eventually led him to arriving to Granada, Spain in 1538. Starting at the Elvira Gate. It was through this very gate that John entered the city, marking the beginning of his life's transformative journey. Granada during the time of Saint John of God was a city enclosed by mighty walls, and the Elvira Gate was one of its most important gateways. It was through this portal that many travelers, traders, and pilgrims passed, including a young John, who was leaving his past behind and stepping into a new chapter. For John, entering through the Elvira Gate was the beginning of a new life. As he crossed the threshold, he could not have known the profound impact he would have on this city and the world beyond it. After John entered the vibrant city of Granada, he quickly realized that the heart of the city, the main gate, was where everything happened. Next to the gate, he began selling books. Through every transaction, John was absorbing the rhythms of life, understanding the needs of the people, and gaining insight into the world around him. His experiences gave him the wisdom he would need for the next chapter of his life. John came to the Hermitage of the Martyrs with a heart full of questions and a desire to find meaning. He came seeking to hear the words of the renowned preacher, Juan de Avila, a man whose powerful sermons and spiritual wisdom would ignite something deep within John of God's soul. In that moment, John underwent a profound religious conversion. It was here, at this humble hermitage, that Saint John of God found the light he had been searching for. Next up is the Royal Hospital, an institution with a history rich in compassion and care. But long before it became a symbol of hope, it was a place of hardship for one man, Saint John of God. In the early 16th century, John arrived here, not as a healer, but as a patient. He was incarcerated in the Royal Hospital, where his life would take a dramatic turn. While he was here, he found himself praying not just for his own well-being, but for something greater. He longed for a hospital of his own, a place where those like him could find care and dignity, something he himself had not been given. One place Saint John of God often visited was the Plaza Nuevo, the lively heart of Granada. This square was the hub of the city, where the pulse of daily life could be felt in every corner. The plaza was more than just a meeting place, it was where John got to know the struggles, the hopes, and the dreams of the community. Here we have the Venegas porch. Señor Venegas, a generous local of Granada, allowed Saint John of God to bring in the sick, homeless, and those in need to his porch, creating a makeshift refuge for those suffering. Today, above the door, a plaque bears the inscription, El Mande, which means, let the heart command. These words reflect the spirit of Saint John of God's life, a life led by love, compassion, and a heart that was dedicated to serving others. Now we arrive to the Xenil River. In the winter of 1550, Saint John of God, known for his unwavering compassion and service, was about to face the most heartbreaking moment of his life. One cold February day, John witnessed a small boy struggling in the river, helpless against the current. Without hesitation, John leapt into the water, driven by his deep sense of duty to save the child. He reached the boy, but despite his best efforts, the child was lost to the depths. Soon after, John fell ill, his body weakened from the cold river water. Pneumonia set in, and the once strong, selfless man began to fade. On March 8, 1550, Saint John of God passed away at the Casa Las Pisa, a house where he had sought rest. It was in this very room, surrounded by his devoted followers and the weight of his own illness, that he took his final breath. In his lifetime, John's legacy was defined by selfless acts of compassion. Today, the Casa Las Pisa stands as a museum dedicated to honoring the life and heroic story of Saint John of God. Visitors can walk through the very halls where he lived and breathed, surrounded by documents, photos, and artifacts that tell of his extraordinary life, a life devoted to the service of others. His funeral took place right on this very street outside Casa Las Pisa. The procession was overwhelming in size and heart. Everyone came: patients, prostitutes, the homeless, even the King and Queen of Spain walked side by side. The parade stretched for hours, winding its way through the streets of the city, carrying John's body to the Church of Our Lady of Victory. It wasn't just a farewell, it was a tribute to a life that had touched everyone. One of the most significant and historically rich landmarks of this mission is the Hospital of St. John of God. With a legacy that spans centuries, this hospital has been a beacon of compassion and care for those in need. Since its founding, it has faithfully served as a sanctuary for the sick and the impoverished, staying true to the vision of St. John of God. Following his death, his devoted followers established the Brothers of St. John of God, a religious order that continues to carry forward his mission of hospitality in countries around the world. Founded by St. John of God, a former soldier turned healer, this hospital stands as a testament to his lifelong dedication to aiding the vulnerable and providing care to those most in need. Welcome to the Basilica of St. John of God, a sacred space built not only to honor a saint, but to preserve the memory of a life devoted to compassion, sacrifice, and healing. In 1737, nearly 2 centuries after his death, the Order of St. John of God commissioned this basilica in Granada. It was built to house the remains of the man who once walked these same streets, caring for the sick, the poor, and the forgotten. At the heart of the basilica lies the tomb of the saint, resting in the main nave. His tomb is surrounded by candles, fresh flowers, and symbols of hope and healing. He is the patron saint of the sick, and here, pilgrims come to pray, to remember, and to be inspired by his legacy of love. Though centuries have passed, the spirit of St. John of God lives on. Throughout hospitals, schools, healthcare facilities, and so much more. His legacy of compassion and service extends far beyond Granada, reaching across continents and cultures. The Order of St. John of God is located in over 55 countries around the world. People are taken care of because of the actions of one man, a man who lived not for himself, but for the well-being of others. From the humblest of beginnings to the grandest of institutions, his message remains the same: do good for yourself by doing good for others. Through his words and actions, he taught us that true fulfillment comes not from what we receive, but from what we give. St. John of God's story is not just one of the past, it is a living testament to the power of love, care, and selfless service. And as long as there are those in need, his spirit will continue to inspire, heal, and guide. Thank you for journeying with St. John of God and all of us in the spirit of hospitality.